Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today we're going to be playing with Hippo Slime's Mono White Devotion deck list. Before we get started here, I want to emphasize that I've been told not to significantly change this deck list. I have made some small tweaks, but not allowed to take out the jank, is the crux of what I'm getting at here. So this is a deck that I played, oh, I don't know, it's probably been 4, 5, 6 months ago now for the channel, but it was a 60 card version. And now we're going to upgrade to an 80 card version. The general idea is that we are going to try to use Nykthos Shrine of Nyx to go and power out some big dumb stuff that's normally reserved for the commander tables. These are the cards that I just referenced that I'm not allowed to cut. So this deck has a bunch of things that like the commander players and maybe the real old school players are going to recognize, but that like otherwise are just largely too expensive to see play unless you're really cheating them in. And it's our hope that with Nykthos we can do that. But like, I think if we stopped at, like, Baneslayer Angels, like, we probably would have accomplished the same point in a lot of places, and those would have been more frequently hard-casted, but, you know, we're gonna try to do the thing. We're gonna see if we can make it work. Alright, so why am I revisiting this deck list? Well, the Ephemerate Shell has been putting up a decent number of results in Modern, and Kamigawa and Neon Dynasty gave us another really good thing to blink. So at this point, like we have Wall of Omens, we have Spirited Companion, we have things like Charming Prince, Flicker Wisp, Restoration Angel that we can use to like gain value from blinking things or blink things. The idea is we are going to be a sort of like mono white control, draw cards sort of deck, derp around for a few turns, and then try to do something really big and really dumb. We have Weathered Wayfarers here as a way to search for Nykthos so that we can more consistently find it. And we have a handful of other utility lands here as well that can potentially help us out. Note there are 28 lands in this deck. There's a few at the bottom that are just going to be off the screen. It's look, folks, it's hard to get Yorion deck lists onto the screen and like make it look good. Um, I did add some cute tech to the deck list. Sword of Hearth and Home is a card that I have kind of looked for an excuse to try out for a long time, but it's just like objectively not a particularly good sword. But in this deck, it does both the things that we want to be doing, right? It allows us to blink things, which we care about, and it allows us to ramp, which we also care about because, like, we're trying to do this sort of stuff. So I think it's pretty reasonable here. Now, we do have Solitudes and On Thin Ice as Game 1 removal, as well as Skyclave Apparition, and we have a handful of Path to Exiles in the board. As far as the sideboard goes, I've basically decided, like, screw burn, because every time I queue into Modern leagues with jank, I just, like, either die to burn or to, like, these Living End Cascade decks. So as far as my sideboard, like, we're gonna play 4 Lone Missionaries, and between Lone Missionary and Charming Prince and the ability to blink those, hopefully that buys us some time to, like, get to our mid-game or end game where we can maybe keep up with the card quality that our opponent has. And we're also going to be playing Sanctifier Invect. Like, that's another pro-red thing that we can bring in for that matchup. And we got Ley Lines as well. So essentially, our sideboard is largely for fair-ish stuff, as you can see here. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the, like, 80-card Angel deck is going to beat a lot of the unfair things that Modern has to offer, right? Like, we're not starting with Hate Bears in the main deck. It's not like this is like Thalias and Archons and such, and Leon and Arbiters and things like that, making up the main deck, making it so like we can have a reasonable game versus combo. I think our game versus combo is just kind of like shot, so I'd rather try to win more of the fair stuff. And Sanctifier Invec can help against some of the unfair graveyard-based stuff, so it's not like a total wash. I'm curious to see how many times we can do the thing, and I'm hoping this isn't going to be a, like, 0-4 league where I talk about, like, brewing fundamentals after 4 rounds. Alright, anyway, I hope you all will enjoy this. If you do, click the like button. If you're new here and you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. All right. Let's battle. Okay. My hand kind of does nothing, and I wish it had more mana, but it has 1 in 8 redraw and a removal spell to start with. I think I'm gonna keep this. Like this can be an Oblivion Ring, or it can be a blink effect to kind of redraw a card. Like I'm going to have options. I forgot to make all of my planes match. That's the first misplay. Shout outs to my sponsor card hoarder for like giving me the cards that I need, but like slops to me for not going and making things match. A little bit of a pain to do, I'm not gonna lie to you. My start here is a little weak. Yeah. Like this card is good. This little pupper, less so. Wait a second. This is this super cute? Oh no, this isn't. It's the red one that has morph. JK, I got excited for a second. I thought we were gonna like morph and then blink it. But what's my plan here? This hits artifacts or creatures. Gonna go ahead and cycle this and kind of hope I hit something that like gives me a redraw. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And play a Nykthos. Play a new Spirited Companion. Try Thalia's Lancers, which lets us search for a legendary card. Play maybe we poke the Teferi. Like the Teferi isn't exactly like a super threat right now, but it's annoying. Yeah. Okay. So you can enter tapped. You, I suppose, can do some scrying for me. Restoration Angel and Ephemerate. Those are cool cards, but I don't really have a use for the Ephemerate right now because my dogs just got swept. I probably just keep Restoration Angel as a threat. But this is kind of what I was talking about. Like, this is not going to be a hard castable card anytime soon, even with a Nykthos. And, like, because I have this card in my deck, I have, like, a draw that isn't live currently. Not being able to Restoration Angel in response to a removal spell here super sucks, by the way. So let's attempt to poke this Teferi and then get blown out in combat in one way or another. Oh, it didn't. Okay. I will offer this Restoration Angel up to the gods of counterspells. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Yes, I'll use this ability. So I think I'm going to get cute here. Exile my Restoration Angel. Go to my end step. I return Restoration Angel, Blinking Charming Prince. I'm going to use this ability. And then I'm going to go ahead and re-blink the Restoration Angel. So what this cute little song and dance does is it makes it so that if my opponent has a Supreme, what is this? X top cards of your library, X is amount of mana spent to cast a spell, 2 in your hand. Sure. That's very good. Anyway, what the Song and Dance does is so that if my opponent has a Supreme Verdict, they don't actually get to Supreme Verdict away my Restoration Angel, which is pretty cool. All right, so they're filtering mana through Mystic Gate to cast something. A Prismatic Ending, sure. Into Jace, yikes. Yeah. So like my creature removal in hand is dead. My Acroma in hand is dead. This Iona in my hand is dead. This Touch the Spirit Realm that's in my hand is basically dead. Yep. So, you know, throwing it out there. I think I'm very dead here. I guess I'll attack Teferi. It doesn't matter too much. Yeah, so I don't have the next land that I need in order to cast this stuff. Like, I can consider casting on Thin Ice as, like, a fucked up pseudo mana rock. But I'd rather, like, save that to pitch to the Solitude in some weird circumstances where, like, that becomes important. Alright, there's a lot of mana being tapped for something, and I do not like it. A Supreme Verdict. What is the timing on this blink? Beginning of the next end step. Cool. So I will blink my Restoration Angel here. Suck it, Teferi. I got to do something at instant speed. Alright, so now my creature comes back, and I can actually make an attempt at killing this Teferi. At which point my Ephemerate type cards are going to be live again. Although, oh, hell yeah, I didn't just, like, eat a Path to Exile and, end up in a really bad spot. Am I giving up on the On Thin Ice? Probably am. I need more devotion right now in order to get to some of these other cards, because, like, my Weathered Wayfarer is just kind of there. It can help me make a land drop, but it doesn't, like, truly ramp me. Another memory. Okay, they're just drawing 2 cards, sure. But, like, there's a lot of worlds where, like, Jace just minuses, bounces my Restoration Angel. I don't know how many Supreme Verdicts my opponent is playing. I'm just, like, not familiar enough with current modern deck lists to know the answer to that question. Alright, they're filtering mana via Mystic Gate. New Teferi, understood. We bouncing? Alright, there's a Colonnade. Sorry, a Cannonade, not Colonnade. Oh, no, it is Colonnade. God, there's more of them. Okay. Alright, they're just bouncing my On Thin Ice to draw a card. Okay. Have I proved my deck building point yet about why you're not allowed to do these things? I'm sorry, but, like, this is it, right? So, like, I guess I can play an On Thin Ice as, like, a future potential mana rock. Like, that's all I can do with this hand currently, because, like, I just have 3 unplayable Magic cards. Like, this is rough. And, like, Nykthos doesn't start, like, getting to an acceptable mana level for quite some time. I also just want to, like, point to the turn counter here. Like, this is turn 9. Like, this is turn 9. And, like, these things that my deck is designed to pump out, in theory, are, like, still just very, very, very stuck in my hand at this stage. Okay. Gonna Legend Rule this land in order to attempt to make a play. Yes. Am I going to be sad about it? Also, yes. I'm just gonna play the Thalia's Lancers. Okay, it has resolved. I'll use this ability. I guess Gisela is castable. Aganjo is also just like a land drop that I can make, so I think I'm gonna go for that. Okay, something gross is happening that I'm not gonna like. 5 Solitude, yeah. Alright, I mean, I can start Solituding Solitudes next turn, but, like, if my opponent has Cryptic Command type cards that, like, they've just been chilling on because I haven't done anything threatening, I'm not actually gonna get anywhere. Opponent also can just, like, bounce this Solitude any number of ways, right? I will take 3 going to 21. And that's a prismatic ending on my card. Okay, cool. So back to 0 Devotion. I do think I need to just play that as a land, by the way. Attempt a Skyclave this turn. It's more important to answer this Jace than anything else right now, I think. But, again... Oh, wow. Just cool. Alright, I got the Jace. That's the good news. The bad news is that, like, my opponent is pretty likely to answer this thing. And then, like, they will get a 4/4 out of that. Yeah, my opponent is just so incredibly far ahead here. Alright, Field of Ruin is bad for me. That gets rid of a lot of my utility. I don't know. More other Teferi. This is disgusting. I'm still at, like, 21 life. That's, I guess, the good news. Attempt to hardcast a Solitude, removing their Solitude here. You know, really, at some point, I am expecting my stuff to get countered. I haven't seen one yet. I feel like they're there somewhere. Yep, okay. You can Solitude my Solitude, then block this, and be left with a 4/4. That's quite good. Okay. Sure. Shocking. How much stuff? Okay, cool. We take those at this point. I think opponent is a little bit on autopilot here. Like, they're so far ahead. I eat 4 damage this turn, going to 20. I get to untap some lands. Okay, we'll drag that to the unplayable side of the hand. And we'll attempt to remove this token. Oh, is it a counterspell finally? It is. Yeah, I wanted to kind of sandbag the Batter Skull for a little while, because, like, this card is really annoying. I would really like to resolve it. Why is my opponent shocking themselves? Like, that's so unnecessary. But, again, their decisions don't matter at this point. I have a hand that consists mostly of uncastable cards. Alright. I don't think I can hold this back any longer at this point. Alright, there's actual factual counterspell. And like now my opponent is just like very established, right? If they're at the point where they can start activating this, like that's just very bad for me. I have 2, 4, I have 6 mana available. What, the least expensive of these is 7? Okay. Yeah. Alright, so my opponent has decided to kill me now. That's reasonable. So I'm gonna get hit for 12 here, and then I presume this represents the counterspell that is going to beat me. Or untap a couple of lands. Yeah, I am just dead here. Okay. So there we go. I basically don't have sideboard cards for this matchup. I did forget about my Yorion, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that would have mattered though. Yeah, I just have so many bad cards here, right? Like, On Thin Ice is bad. Touch the Spirit Realm is basically bad. I'll treat it as a pseudo counterspell for a removal spell. Wall of Omens is bad in that, like, it's not going to help reduce my opponent's life total to 0. All these, like, the top end of my deck is bad. They're uncastable even in this matchup. Like, I can board in a couple of small creatures to, like, have a few more things that can attack, but, I'm not hopeful that I can win this matchup. I guess I'll board in 4 lone missionaries. Sanctifier Invec is not great. Like, in the world where I get some of these in play, they can be pretty good, but it's so hard to do that. It's just so incredibly hard to do that. I'll keep a couple in the Spirit of the Deck list and play a couple of these. I'm not hurting for 2-drop plays, so I don't necessarily want to um, sideboard some of these. This hand's fine. This hand at least has, like, the potential line of, like, spike a Stoneforge. Or sorry, like, stick the Stoneforge and, like, carry the game with it. But, like, this was already an effective mulligan down 1 card, just kind of due to the way this hand looks. Oh, unfortunate. It seems like opponent... Oh, nope, opponent was just doing that. I absolutely will just grab the Cauldron here. In the circumstances where my opponent can't actually answer this card, like, that gives me a real way to attempt to win this game. Cool. Alright, so land drop, activate you, put in Cauldron. Alright, there is a Solitude. I will get 5 life for my trouble. Alright. Second main phase, I'll dump Weathered Wayfarer into play. But, like, my opponent's plays here are just probably better on average than mine are. Activate this only if an opponent controls more lands than you. Unfortunate. I think I'm going to go ahead and crash in with a Stoneforge only. Put my opponent to 16. And then attempt to Charming Prince, blinking my Stoneforge to get value out of that. Okay, cool. Ooh, something's happening. Okay. So this is exiling. That's fine. I get no value out of my Charming Prince trigger. Okay, opponent is not letting me get an extra land with Weathered Wayfarer. That is what it is. I'll just crash in. I think I have to keep making my land drops because I have to, like, work towards 8 drops. I'm fine with doing a Spirited Companion. It then gets, like, questionable whether or not I actually want to play out a Lone Missionary. I don't, given an Ephemerate in hand. Alright, opponent is attempting to gain control of my Weathered Wayfarer. No. Just no. I'm not going to let the control deck just funnel lands every turn like that. Alright. 3 mana. Okay, they're taking it again. I've got Ephemerate. Can only target something I control, so I can't, like, use it on this. I will just go ahead and get a card out of this. This gives this summoning sickness, but, like, that's kind of whatever. Uncounterable Solitude? Question mark, question mark, question mark? Or do I want to save this for an Avacyn? Or, sorry, we're not playing Legacy. Like, I don't have to contend with Force of Will. I can just do this. 5 mana, Solitude, junk my own card. Get in there for 2 damage. Get absolutely wrenched by a Supreme Verdict when that happens. This is 2, 3, 4 pips of Devotion. I can get to 4, 5, 6, 7 mana next turn. I can't even Avacyn next turn. Hello. Okay. That's cool. Alright, so we're going to put this on Angel. There's a sword. Equip the sword to a Solitude. Alright, we're doing the thing. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and blink my doggo. Get a land. Draw a card. Sure. I'll play a Wall of Omens. Okay. Now next turn, big assumption. Assuming I don't eat a Supreme Verdict, I can do something pretty cool. And it's killing my opponent. But I think I'm just eating a Supreme Verdict here. I'm fine playing a Wall of Omens into that situation, though. This is 4, 5, 6, 7. Pro white is cool. I think I'm going to go ahead and just play a Lone Missionary. I'll gain some life. I think I will go ahead and go 2 to equip this, and then play a Nykthos. This leaves up playing an end-step Restoration Angel if this thing eats it to another Supreme Verdict type removal spell. 5 mana to Teferi, sure. So, okay, they're going for card draw. That's fine. Okay, cool. Alright, given how that looked, like, Indestructible is cool versus Supreme Verdicts, right? Like, how much of this stuff am I supposed to junk? Because, like, this has haste, that's cool. This has some protection, this has some protection. Like, do I want more Sanctifier Invex to try to, like, get my opponent in the early game? Or do I want to keep some of this? I think I'll keep some of this, but I'm, like, not happy about it. This doesn't look like a playable hand to me. Like, this land entering tapped is just a huge deal. Like, can I mulligan a 7 and keep an average 6 some portion of the time instead of just being left with a 0-lander? I would appreciate it. I would really appreciate it. Yikes, basically. I'm honestly just gonna keep my lands. Like, I need to draw into some stuff that I can do in the early game. Let's just cycle this now. Hopefully just draw like a Stoneforge. Nope. Okay. No shock there. I'm gonna play the thing that can start attacking next turn. This play is going to be a little bit worse versus, like, say, a Teferi that just bounces it versus Wall of Omens. But if I play Wall of Omens, I actually can't start pressuring my opponent's life total, which matters. Okay, sure. Take that damage. Yeah, there's the Teferi. Sanctifier Infect gets bounced. Yada, 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 yada. Okay, cool. Alright. So I have to redeploy the thing that can attack my opponent's life total. But this is why I didn't, like, super want to board in more of these, right? Like, this is not a super reasonable threat in a blue-white control matchup. Okay, they're going deeper. Alright, Prismatic Ending, sure. Okay, that's currently uncastable. This doesn't attack my opponent, unfortunately. I am at the point where I can attempt to cast Athalia's Lancer next turn, which is worth something. But, like, this not being able to pressure this is huge, right? Because, like, my opponent can just drop another big Planeswalker this turn, and I end up so far behind. Alright, yep, untap your lands. This doesn't net any mana yet. So I'll attempt to cast Athalia's Lancers, but I'm guessing, yeah. Okay. This is probably the point where I've lost this, but I can't, like, truly concede yet. And, life's bad, folks. Okay. Cool, cool. So this is my sorcery speed solitude that I play to try and pressure these, but it doesn't realistically beat the colonnades that are in play already. But I can't play them at instant speed to try to remove a colonnade because of small to very instant speed supreme verdicts. Okay. 4, 5, 6. This is 7. This still costs 8, so I'm not there yet. And honestly, at this point, like, with my opponent having this many cards in hand, I don't think I can rely on this anyway. Alright, let's play a wall. Draw my card. Okay, Stoneforge is legitimately very good. You know, caveat, if it resolves. Okay. Alright, opponent is doing what now? Just like playing a Solitude to pressure me? Yeah, just get the wall out of the way. Okay. Oh, please Field of Ruin me so I can make another land drop. That would be super cool. Do it. Nope. Something else. Alright. Yeah. I'm at the point that the colonnades are attacking. And once the colonnades are attacking, like, you're dead. Yeah. I think I'm comfortable conceding here. GG's. Okay, apologies, folks. It looks like my video didn't start recording. We're on turn 2. So what happened is I played a tapped land on turn 1. My opponent played a Ruin Crab, so we're playing against Mill. I played Stoneforge Fetching Cauldron on turn 2, and Solitude, used Solitude pitching a Thalia's Lancer. Apologies. That hasn't happened in a very long time. Okay, cool. Alright, I got Fatal Pushed. I'm very glad that I have another Stoneforge here. And I guess I'm just going to leave up Ephemerate rather than play my tapped land. Just because, like, getting this Stoneforge to activate is of absolute critical importance. Like, now that I have 2 valid pieces of equipment, a piece of discard doesn't beat me, and, like, a Fatal Push sort of card doesn't beat me because of Ephemerate. So, like, that's the good news. Okay, opponent is shocking. What are we looking at? I will absolutely mill 14 cards. Do I want to Ephemerate this Stoneforge Mystic? No, I don't think I do. I think I'm just going to go ahead and cycle this land. On Thin Ice is reasonable. So let's put in Cauldra and crash in for 5 damage. I feel ahead here. Alright. So this is presumably just to do Archive Trap shenanigans. I'll grab my planes. I'm not gonna Ephemerate. Sure. That's expected. That's fine. Anyway, I'm not gonna Ephemerate because I just want to attack with Stoneforge. My opponent is currently on a 2-turn clock. Grab is fine. I'll on Thin Ice that. I don't even know that I play Spirited Companion. Let's on Thin Ice, dunk the crab. I don't know. I guess, like, I can hold up. I don't have to hold up Ephemerate if I already have a 2-turn clock if one of these creatures is removed or blocked. Okay, sure. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is fine. Like, I still have 27 cards in library. We done? Okay, we're done. All right, we're on the scoreboard. We have gotten a game. Honestly, I'm just a straight aggro deck here, right? Like, I am just the beatdown. I just need to remove all of these things and play cards that have power and toughness. So let's get... Actually, Leyline is pretty reasonable, right? I don't know the mill cards well enough to know how many of those are target versus just, like, affect each opponent. I always touch the Spirit Realm here. Very slow removal for crabs. An awkward counterspell. Yeah, I think I'm just going to, like, lean further into being the beatdown here. Like, I have a lot of cards that aren't great here. I board out this many angels, then my Thalia's Lancers. I guess I can still tutor for, like, a Gisela or a land, right? It's not creatures that they tutor for, it's just legendary permanent. Yeah, legendary card. Okay, sure, that's fine. I don't love Wall of Omens. I'm just going to replace that with something that can attack. Do I want Path to Exiles for crabs? I don't hate it. I don't really need this card. Like, do I just cut? How big are thought these lands are? 4/4s? Yeah, honestly, maybe I just, like, cut these, get some Path to Exiles in the deck, and then just, like, go down one more Wall of Omens. Or I can just, like, cut Wall of Omens. If I start this by mana value, I still have 18 2-drops, which is probably fine. Okay, this has a ley line, but not enough mana. That has to be a mulligan. I really don't like this hand, but I don't know that I can go to 5. Like, I'm gonna keep this hand and hope that my opponent, like, has crabs as one of their primary ways of milling me in this matchup. Or in this specific game, rather. Sure. Okay. Wayfarer is cool. I'm gonna go ahead and upkeep Path to Exile. This opens me up to the Spell Pierce type effects, but I don't think I want to jump my opponent to 3 mana right away. Alright, what are we working with over there? Okay. Nice. So I can go Plains, play Weathered Wayfarer, and use that to make my next couple of land drops. This is a game where I'm potentially going to, like, put the Yorion into my hand and use that as my primary threat. What are we doing? All right, okay, we're at Tasha's levels of mana. Tasha's got 8 cards. Probably not what my opponent is used to getting from that. All right, I'll pick up a land. This one? Anjo? This is only attacking or blocking. That's a little awkward. I don't like these tapped lands in this deck either. Pick up an Aganjo, it's kind of free for me to do so. And then I think I'm just gonna scry here. Alright. No. I'll bottom both of those. I'm basically looking for threats at this point. Okay, I got Archive trapped. While normally that's scary, since I'm on a Yorion build, like, the first couple of these things that hit me aren't particularly noteworthy. That Tasha's got 15 cards. Not thrilled about that. Let's fish out a land. Maybe at this point I go ahead and grab a Nykthos. Do a tapped land. Oh, tapped unless you control the planes. Sure. I'll play a Lone Missionary and bash in for 2. Okay. But I'm not, like, really blocking my opponent in an acceptable fashion. Like, even if I start turning the Weathered Wayfarer sideways, I still only have 5 power. That's not great. Alright, opponent has returned a Lurrus. I have a Solitude for that. That's fine. I'll bash in for 5. The Hedron Crab is notably in exile. My opponent can't get good Lurrus value. Sure. A player? A player. I'm at 31 cards still. 2 mana? 3 mana. Okay, so that's going to be the Lurrus. There it is. There's a world where I just, like, activate this and then play Solitude on my own turn. But then I become worse at activating a Ganjo if I need to do that. Yeah, you may absolutely remand that. That's fine. I will just do that again. 4, 5. I can jam a Cauldra. Don't know that that's better than just playing a Solitude, though. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let's remove this Lurrus. Attack for 5, putting my opponent to N. And I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus Cauldra next turn. Still got 30 cards in library. Okay, I'm down to 17 cards in library. But that theoretically should be fine. All right, Nykthos. Activate Nykthos. There's 5, 6, 7 Cauldra. Okay. So it's in play. Let's see if everything works out okay. Okay, it did. So basically, we won this match, not really because of the cards in our deck, but because, like, we just had extra cards versus Mill. Not exactly a feel-good win, but, like, we're on the scoreboard now. Okay, round 3. I'm looking at a sketchy hand. I guess I'll keep it. I'm on the draw. I would probably mulligan this on the play. I need to hit quite a few land drops or in order for this hand to go somewhere. But I'm hoping that between like being on the draw and Spirited Companion and Ephemerate that like I can hit those land drops. Okay. Okay. We are potentially going to die very quickly to like a living end type situation. All right. So I'll play a Spirited Companion. All right, I'll draw a card. All right. Stoneforge is very good. All right. You do some cycling. I can get kind of cute with Solitudes. Ward 2. F, okay. Well, then maybe as bad as I thought it was initially. I guess I lose the Ephemerate here, probably. Okay, yeah. Kind of as expected, I lost the Ephemerate. And opponent's just chilling. Bad things can happen at any point. Some of the Cascade enablers are instants. All right, opponent goes to 18. I'm sort of pinched on mana here in a way that I don't really like. I'll grab my sword. So I have 2 white cards in hand to pitch to Solitudes. Yep. Okay. So now it's getting to the point where like a couple Solitudes might not bail me out of this situation if my opponent does this. Yeah. All right. So they find Living End. I believe that I am supposed to go ahead and like ask these Solitudes and let them come back into play. He uses to gain like 2 life, but I don't think I'm going to do that. All right, then I'll repeat the process, exiling this, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Let it evoke. Return all this stuff. Now there's a lot of triggers. I'm going to Solitude, junk the 7/7. This one's hexproof, unfortunately. And this one has Ward. So I guess I'll take out the 4/4 flyer. So I do some damage control, but my opponent still just ends up with the better board here by a considerable amount. And I can't cast any of the cards in my hand right now. The Sword of Hearth and Home would be pretty cool if I got to do it, but I am not going to get to do it. Yeah. Okay. I'll, I guess, put a Yorion into my hand. But I think my opponent is going to get to like play Sword and Shield with their cards, where like they get to attack with like maybe the Turtle and the Grief. Well, oh, okay, or that. So I'm gonna double block this, and then like I'm trading 1 for 1 while gaining 6 life, and I get to keep this around, and I can either attack with it or like trade 1 with the Regardless Agent next turn. I thought my opponent was going to attack more tactically. It probably doesn't matter on their end, honestly. Yep, because I have mono uncastables. Let's see. So going to take like 11. If I trade with like say this, I'll take 11, 12, 13. So I'm gonna have to like chomp. Okay. At this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and concede. We're not getting there. Guess I'll play a playset of Sanctifier Invex. I'm never going to get to the point where I get these in play unless like I'm discarding my own cards to hand size or something like that. My opponent will kind of obliterate me before we get to that stage. So let's junk this. I might need to keep a couple of these big flyers in here as just like outs to blocking my opponent's big flyers. I'll keep the ones that cost 7. Touch the Spirit Realm is like slow removal, but removal. Might need to just like increase my removal density as much as I can. Sort of Hearth and Home Flickering Solitude is like good end game. I think I'm gonna try to junk Wall of Omens and like use those slots to get Path to Exile. Wall of Omens not doing damage here is kind of a huge deal. And if I'm maybe if I'm bringing in paths, I can get rid of these. And and, I don't know, fill a slot with a lone missionary or something. Um, this is a reasonable looking opening hand that is low power level. I'll keep it and hope that it goes somewhere. But I'm not like super, super hopeful here. Okay. Let's play a dog. Like maybe I should have just like mulliganed aggressively looking for specifically a Stoneforge Mystic hand, but like mulliganing aggressively for a single card doesn't work as well in a Yorian deck list as it does in a traditional like 60 card deck list. So that plan, just generally speaking, is not fantastic. And I also can't like press. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. That's lucky on my end. So I might steal a game because my opponent got super greedy on the draw. London Mulligan is fucking good, folks. Take advantage of it. So I'll Flicker Wisp, draw a card. Like, that's not a bad draw for me. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt to attack for 4, bring my opponent to 12. And gonna kind of hope that my opponent can't just, like, cycle 2 or 3 times and then living end in this turn cycle. I might be able to, like, limp over the finish line if I get one more attack step in, but if my opponent can living end this turn, it's very bad for me. Like, it's not very many creatures, but it's strong. Okay. So, subtlety get everything. Creature spell or planeswalker spell. Okay, cool. Alright, Solitude is a great draw. I get to hit my opponent for 8 here, which brings them to 4. There we go. I'm good with playing this since it cantrips. I don't think I want to play that creature, though. Alright, there's a fetch down to 3. I've got a few different things I can do in the face of a living end happening. Okay, this doesn't necessarily mean I'm safe yet. They may be going for it at instant speed, because they can, like, discard one more card to hand size here. Let's attempt to get in there. Alright, so there we go. And then living end happens. Oh, shoot. I was supposed to respond with my Solitude. Shit. I clicked one too many times there. I don't think it matters, though. Like, I Solitude away both of these things. My opponent is left with 2 5/5 Hexproof, a 6/5, a 3/3. I have 2 Solitudes. They don't, like, keep up with that, and I can't remove them with Path. Yeah. I think I would have ended up conceding a turn or so later anyway. That's fine, but I did misclick there. Hey folks, quick plug from Phil. On March 20th, I will be doing a stream to kind of benefit the folks in Ukraine who have been having a rough time recently. I will be a guest on one Mr. Lee's YouTube channel, and 100% of the money we raise during that time period will be donated to various charities in Ukraine as we kind of try to help them through their current situation. If you want to kind of follow along with that and see all the details, please follow me on Twitter. That'll kind of be the easiest way to keep up with the updates, as normally I record my YouTube videos about in a week in advance, so there's always sort of a lag time with real-time news. So please give me a follow on Twitter if you kind of want to be able to pop in on that stream and see what we're up to and support us. All right, back to the show. Okay, round 4, we've been paired against an Obosh deck. If we're playing against Burn, this hand does not really have an adequate amount of pressure to get to where I need to be. Like, I can Solitude an initial threat, and then I'm left with literally 0 cards. I think I just have to mulligan this one. I'm rewarded with a 1-lander. Okay. This is the best hand so far by a pretty considerable margin. 1 Weathered Wayfarer goes back for sure. And I think Restoration Angel does. Kind of my hope here is that Weathered Wayfarer gets... Oh. Not playing against Burn. Okay. Anyway. When I thought I was playing against Burn, my hope was that, like, this would eat a removal spell so that I didn't... So that it was effectively a gain 3. Okay, there's a land for my opponent. I think they were considering not playing a land. A Weather Wayfarer is probably not getting activated here. It's just going to be better for me to play a Stoneforge Mystic than it is to just like activate Weathered Wayfarer and just get maximum value out of my cards. Opponent is a like Blood Moon deck with mana dorks. Sure. I can on Thin Ice one of my opponent's mana sources and then activate Weathered Wayfarer. That's an okay turn. But I would rather maybe hit my hit a more critical card with this on Thin Ice. Um let's just play the card that has the potential to steal a game win here. I'll pick up the Cauldra over the sword. The sword is nice if the Stoneforge gets removed, because like it's something that's hard castable. But with a Weathered Wayfarer in play, I'm kind of hoping that I can like leverage this to work towards things like Yorian. Okay, another seasoned Pyromancer. Okay, discarding more Blood Moons. That's fine. Yeah, so I'll take 2 or 3 from this attack after Exalted. That's all fine. And we'll see if my opponent has a Lightning Bolt for this Stoneforge. If they don't, it could be a Path to Exile. Okay, it's just an elf. Sure. In which case, I can just kind of activate this. I think I'll pick up an Ganjo. Like, I might need a removal spell at some point. I want to play out of planes, and then I think I'm actually going to not just like immediately start attacking with Aldra. I would like to get my Batter Skull in play. 3 mana, the 4 mana, 5 mana, Fury. Obviously, that's quite good. So I need to activate Stoneforge. I think I'm actually gonna just put in Cauldra here because the Batter Skull is close-ish to hard castable at this point. Okay, I'm gonna play a tapped land here. I'm gonna go ahead and play an On Thin Ice. I'll use this to junk my opponent's Fury. And again, I think I'm just gonna chill. I'm not the beatdown here currently. I'm trying to prolong this game. This Obosh is really awkward for me. Utopia Sprawl is fine. I have a legendary creature currently to decrease the cost of this, unfortunately. Out of my head that this costs 2. Okay, Obosh is jumping into hand. Sure. 3 mana. Nope. Okay, the opponent's just holding back. Alright. Something, something, something. Wish that was any other castable card. Control a plane, so this enters untapped. Go ahead and just play this out. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna chill, and then next turn I'll equip Batter Skull to this, and probably be in a commanding situation. White mana. Prismatic Ending is rough. So then my opponent is like gonna do this whole song and dance to make an Obosh. And now my opponent's permanents do double damage, essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be 6. 4 damage is awkward. This has 5 toughness. I think I'm just going to let that happen. There's land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do a Cauldra equip next turn. Go ahead and see how my opponent reacts to this attack. Yeah, they're just going to eat it. Fine. Go ahead and just put a Yorian into my hand and call it a turn. The Batter Skull can pretty much chump block with no yikes. With no downsides this turn, because I'm going to like Yorian and return the token next turn. But that's pretty brutal. So this is approximately 1,000,000,000 damage. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17, 18 damage. I can junk a seasoned Pyromancer in combat. Take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage. So I'm just dead regardless. Yeah, again, if the top end were more things like Baneslayers, that would be much preferable. So I'll basically board in my entire sideboard, right? Maybe not ley lines, but I'm gonna board in 12 cards. So basically the entire top end of the deck will go out. Touch the Spirit Realm seems slow here and kind of awkward. How close are we getting at this point? That's 5 more theoretical cuts if I'm going to play all of this stuff. I don't hate 4/4 first strikers here, but they do kind of feel like a weak link still. I also think my Wandered Wayfarers are kind of weak when I'm on the play. I think I'm going to cut those. Nope. Uh, can't keep a one-lander. Um, well, this hand's bad, but I probably just have to keep it. Like, I have a very relevant blocker and a second very relevant blocker, but I have no way to actually start winning the game on my own. So, like, kind of a like pray Yorion can do something sort of hand. Yeah, sure. I think I'll just start immediately with the thing that can attack. It's like definitely slightly awkward in that like I would love to redraw towards like something that actually has some real power, like Stoneforge Mystic. Um, but given that my opponent's mid game is better than my mid game, I think I kind of need to get the show on the road here and start attacking. Like I don't have a good early game hand here. Yeah, sure, sure, sure. A little awkward. Like this can just get prismatic ending away here. Yeah. All right. Not a great turn for me. I'll be passing here. I'm kind of in the situation where I hope my opponent plays something that I can remove. If they don't, I'll put a Yorion to hand and hope that goes somewhere. Okay, that's the sort of thing that I'm well equipped to answer with this current hand. So I will just absolutely Skyclave that away and call it a turn. Okay, opponent is just passing the turn. Guess I'll go ahead and play my land drop. I'll make my attack with a 2/2 and see if something bad happens. It feels like the answer is yes. The answer is indeed yes. So my opponent gets a 3/3 out of that. I'll go ahead and poof a Yori into my hand. I'll block with Wall of Omens if my opponent attacks. If they have like another stomp, they have another stomp. Tireless Tracker. Seems good. Seems very good, honestly. Sure, sure, sure. Okay, there's a shock. Loading a red Ragavan. Sure. Tavern. Alright. I guess I have 6 mana available. So this can just be a turn where go ahead and use On Thin Ice, Dunk the Tireless Tracker, Cast Yorion, use it to blink Wall of Omens, get 1 card out of Yorion. Obviously, that's not what I'm looking for. So next, we're looking for some sort of like Ephemerate-esque card to start getting some card advantage. I don't know if I could really start swinging yet because that Ragavan getting in there is disastrous. Once I'm holding up a Ganjo, it's probably okay too. Okay, there's just cracking a clue. That's fine. Like my opponent definitely has more gas in the tank than I do, right? Like they haven't used Obosh at all yet. Yuck. Okay. So at this point, a second removal spell that takes out Wall of Omens is disastrous for me. I'm not letting that Ragavan get through. Absolutely not. Good draw. Skyclave is not bad. Don't know that I'd qualify it as good either, but it's not bad. The spell or ability? No, spell specifically. I think I'm supposed to chill on this Skyclave and not actually use it this turn. Oh, am I getting hit with a path at the end of turn? Getting hit with a tear. Gross. 2 mana, sure. Get your clues. Does 4 damage, right? So a fetch land would be pretty bad for me. Alright, everything's coming in. I'll go ahead and block here. Go ahead and Aganjo away Tireless Tracker. and end up taking 3 damage here. And what's the follow-up? Is it Bone Crusher Giant? Wouldn't surprise me. It could be Obosh to hand. 3 mana. Alright, it is Bone Crusher Giant, which I'll deal with via Skyclave Apparition, I guess. And then kind of hope to draw something that answers the Obosh once we get around to that. Again, I'm on fumes here. Opponent has like 4.5 cards, depending on how you value the commander companion. Okay. Not in concession territory yet, but I'm not very far away from that either. 3 mana for what? Okay, sure. Make your attack. I'll repeat the same pattern I've been repeating of blocking this. Take 3, go to 11. Okay, now it's 3 mana for Obosh to hand. Which is a real problem. That's not the worst here. It doesn't really solve my problem, though. Okay. I'll grab my land. And have a token to block Ragavan if that comes in, but, life's bad, folks. There's the Obosh. Okay, they're gonna leave the Ragavan back. Yeah, I think attacking with it is fine. Like, I'm clearly, like, out of gas, right? So if you attack with it, you get more damage in via the tokens immediately. Alright. That is not gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and, throw in the towel here. GG's. Alright, I've got an opening hand with a Stoneforge Mystic, so we have a chance to steal a game. But, like, here we see, like, the clear downside of running Nykthos in the deck, right? Like, this is a legendary land. And we have multiple copies of it, which means things are gonna be a little awkward as, the game goes long. Sure, that's all fine. So are we playing against some sort of prowess deck? It's looking increasingly likely. Sure. I'm plenty happy if my opponent does not lead on a creature when playing those sorts of decks. Yeah, so these ETB tapped lands are potentially going to be a little rough. A Weathered Wayfarer is also just like a 1/1 with flavor text when I'm on the play. Let's play a Stoneforge Mystic and hope it resolves. Okay, sure. Or I guess rather hope it lives. I might need to get like Batterskull here rather than Kaldra. Okay, sure. I think this is likely enough to die that I can't get Kaldra. I think I have to either get my sword or my Batterskull here. Like, my opponent just shocked. Like, they telegraphed that for me. I think I'm going to grab Batterskull. Like, not crazy that I could get to the point where I hardcast this. I'm not there now. Not comfortably, anyway. Hey, that's good. Again, I'm never going to get a land out of this. I'm on the play, I don't think. Not if things are going reasonably. Guess I'll, like, play Emeria. External play Mistveil Plains. Could just get countered here. But I just, like, have no other play. So, like, my hand is kind of forced in that regard. Okay, sure. Are we dealing with Murktide? Got a Solitude, so I'm not just, like, stone cold dead to that. But I'm unhappy about it. Solituding? I'd rather just hardcast Solitude. This land entering play tapped super sucks here. We can't play Restoration Angel this turn. Alright, I'll take a Lava Axe to the face. And hope my opponent doesn't have a counterspell for Solitude. Going to cost me, like, a land to do that, which I'm not super stoked about. Especially if a counterspell happens, because, like, then my follow-up Batterskull becomes just worse. Yeah, an opponent's holding up mana here. Not great. I also can't, like, play this on my opponent's turn, since it's a legendary land. Sucks. Alright, Legend Rule my land. And, go ahead and just do this. The alternative is go for, like, pitch cast it, pitching Charming Prince, hard casting Batterskull. I don't love that, though. Like, it's kind of my hope that I can beat a single Murktide Regent a number of different ways. I have a decent number of top decks that answer that card. Sure, Expressive Iteration is very good here. Okay, Ragavan's in exile. That's very good. Altawara in their deck list. Sure. Why did we not dash Ragavan? Oh, that just probably means they have another counterspell and I'm... Or maybe you can't dash from exile. What's the wording of this? You might play the exiled cards this turn. Should be able to do that. Okay, so opponent has 5 lands, so I actually can do this now. Cavernous Souls is cool. Yeah, I like Cavernous Souls here. Let's put that on Angel. Restoration Angel doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. I guess I'll play that one this turn. But like not playing the Gisela so that I can get lifelink going is really rough. Okay, it's another Expressive Iteration, sure. That's the mill cantrip, right? Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay, sure. Opponent is shocking. And I will go ahead and cast a Restoration Angel. And I will go ahead and blink this creature to untap it, just in case that becomes relevant. Ooh, opponent is fetching. Alright, what do you got? Okay. I am getting the blink. I will go ahead and block this. And I'll go to 5. I can potentially just die to double bolt here or something like that. Restoration Angel. Situation's not great. It feels like my opponent has like Counterspell or Archmage's Charm. Like I've got lines that keep me alive that involve like playing a Restoration Angel and doing some chump blocking with it or something. I'm not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can go ahead and activate this. And I just play Gisela and go for a double block situation, or play a Restoration Angel and go for a double block situation. I can also just play the Batterskull, hope they don't have a counter spell. It doesn't feel great. I can also go for a Ganjo. Yeah, maybe I do that. All right, I've picked up an Aganjo. I can couple that with a Restoration Angel block, take it out, or I could do double blocks with a Restoration Angel. Okay. That's just 4 damage to that. Okay. So I can play a Restoration Angel, chump block, get another turn. That feels bad. Okay, opponent's got a dashed Ragavan here. This is obviously a disaster. I have to chump block with a Restoration Angel in order to try and stay alive. But then the Ragavan gets to hit me, and I have all sorts of like big dumb bullshit in my deck that my opponent can hit. I think I have to go for the Weathered Wayfarer, blink and block both, or that can happen. All right. I'll take my chump block, eat 2 damage. I'm dead to Lightning Bolt at any point. Concede. All right, next game. Let's board in like 12 cards and board out the cute side of our deck that shouldn't be in the deck. So those 5 immediately go out. All these cards immediately go in, and then I have to make 7 more cuts. The Thalia's Lancers probably go, like, they're immune to Lightning Bolt, which is cool, but I can probably win the game with literally anything if I get to the point where I stabilize. The problem is getting to the point where I stabilize. Again, Weathered Wayfarer is pretty bad on the play. From there, it's a little tough. Let's sort this by mana value, just kind of get a better look. I go down some number of Ephemerates. Like Ephemerate Solitude's super cute, but worried about my stuff staying alive in the first place. Okay, I have a reasonable looking opening hand here. Alright, land go. We'll play Sanctifier in Vec on turn 2 almost every time. Sure. I assume my opponent is going to shock and like play a Ragavan or a Cantrip or a Dragon Rage Channeler. Yeah. Early Sanctifier in Vec should make it more difficult to flip this thing. Not impossible, just more difficult. Okay, cool. Land, Sanctifier in Vac. And then we'll call it a turn there. We haven't actually successfully exiled any cards from my opponent's graveyard, but we maybe stop a Dragon Rage Channeler from attacking on the ground this turn, saving a single point of damage. Okay. Opponent. It feels like opponent is holding up counter spell here, so I maybe don't want to play one of my more valuable cards here. I think I want to play a 2-drop this turn, and I can double 2-drop next turn. Um, I am just going to play Wall of Omens here. I don't think it's super appealing to counter that spell, and it just kind of gives me some additional insulation versus a Ragavan if things somehow get weird. Yeah, fantastic. Jace. Okay, that makes that into a 3/3. I'll play around Dash Ragavan. Dash Ragavan happening is just so bad for me right now. Flash at every point in the game ever. Alright, so that's an expressive iteration. My opponent liked whatever they saw, which is probably not good news for me. Sure. Alright, I will eat 3 damage here. And then I've got a better chance at resolving some of my stuff this turn. Okay, sure, yeah, absolutely shock. Alright, and there is the Ragavan. Okay, cool. Um, this is actually a pretty respectable turn for me now. So I can go 2 mana, Stoneforge Mystic. I think I'll just pick up Batterskull here. Caldra's better, but removal is a thing. And then I'll just play a new Sanctifier in Vac and go ahead and attack for 2. It's also just like not crazy to pick up Sword of Hearth and Home here in this spot because like I have multiple pro red creatures, but like that line becomes very bad if my opponent just ends up like making a decent sized Murktide. All right, good stuff. The Weathered Wayfarers become more reasonable on the draw, just as another play that helps deal with turn 1 Ragavan. Touch the Spirit Realm is very slow on the draw. I'm also just like not the biggest fan of Ephemerate in this deck. It's fine. I think I am just going to remove the Ephemerates and treat these as removal spells for Ragavan. I might also just like Flicker with still trades with Dragon Rage Channelers. That's like fine. Okay, I'll run this. This is a reasonable looking opening hand. I'll keep this. It's like not amazing or anything, but like if I treat this as a turn 1 removal spell for Ragavan, the hand looks pretty good. Ganjo is fine. Oh, removal spell, please. Because my opponent has a removal spell, I'm pretty far behind here. Yeah, okay. This is why I wanted these Weathered Wayfarers on the draw. Okay. And anything relevant there? On Thin Ice is very good. Here's to hoping they don't have actual factual counterspell. It's very bad for me if they do. God damn it. Yep. Okay. Yeah, don't miss playing against this card. Absolutely do not miss playing against this card. I'll go to 16 here. Opponent randomly spikes my Batterskull in my 80 card deck. That stings. Let's see what they can do as a follow-up. Okay. That just probably means they have like the 3 mana counterspell or something. I guess this is just an Aganjo turn. I don't think I can play Spirited Companion and just like risk eating another removal spell into a Ragavan connection. Sure. Opponent found Murktide Regent. That's a disaster for me. Alright, let's nuke this creature. And then we'll see if we can beat my opponent's Murktide Regent. I feel like the answer is no. Not with what I have showing currently. Alright, there's a 6/6 Murktide. I don't have a lot of time to beat that. What I can do is go ahead and play Spirited Companion, draw a card, play Charming Prince, use that to blink Spirited Companion, move to my end step, draw a card with Spirited Companion. Yeah, this is the portion of the game where I don't want to draw this card anymore. Opponent is confident enough to just like shock here. That's not good for me. E for 2 is obviously really good. I am dead in 2 turns. I'll attempt to attack for 4. We'll see if my opponent will even crack this here. They might not. All right, they don't. So I'll Restoration Angel at some point. Yeah, you can consider. Do I want a Restoration Angel now when I can guaranteed draw a card? Well, maybe not guaranteed close to guaranteed draw a card. I think so. Getting the Solitude is kind of huge. Do I want to untap this for like Ragavan-based reasons? I think so. So let's go yes. And I'll exile good old doggo here. All right, there's a red mana. Unholy Heat on Restoration Angel. That's not with Delirium, so they have to do it again. Sure. That means I'm basically dead next turn. Oh wow, do they have another Murktide Regent? Okay, we can concede there. I can't beat that. So this is a 1-4 league. You probably don't need me to say it, but this is not a viable modern strategy, right? Modern is incredibly quick right now. You don't get to fuck around and play 8-drops in modern. You don't. You just don't. I do not believe I activated Nykthos for more than like an additional +1 mana than like the value of the lands themselves in this league. I think the ETB tapped lands had real downsides, even though there aren't very many of them, because like you're playing 5-drops, you're playing 8-drops, like you need to curve out. Basically, I would scrap most of this deck if I were going to try to do this league again. Like, I think you can drop all the cute lands. I think you can like make this closer to an Angel tribal deck list if you like want to pursue this strategy. Like play more Cavernous Souls, drop all the Nykthos, drop like Mistvale, Emeria, Castle Ardenvale, just run more planes and Cavernous Souls. Um, just like drop all of this stuff. Play some like 4 to 5 mana finishers that are just bigger than what a lot of the rest of Modern has to deal with. Like Baneslayer Angel is a great example of that, right? Like there's ton of burn in the queue. If you make it to 5 mana and you get to play a Baneslayer Angel and that sticks, like that's absolutely disgusting, right? And it's good against like Unholy Heat, Lightning Bolt, Prismatic Ending. Like it dodges like Abrupt Decays as well if that's a card that like someone actually played in Modern. Like I don't think you get to do this whole like 5 mana utility tutor for an 8-drop, get the 8-drop into play thing in Modern. It's just not reasonable. Like the Yorion was acceptable, and I do think this version was better than the version that I played before, but this is still just like not an okay thing to be doing in Modern, right? It's just too slow. And I think Modern is very hostile to slightly janky brews because you don't get a lot of time to get set up and like make it to higher land drop amounts before like burn kills you, Amulet Titan does something broken, Living End does something broken, burn reduces your life total to 0, right? So here is your cautionary tale. As far as the sideboard goes, the sideboard was fine. I liked the things that I had access to. As long as you're fine just mostly punting the combo matchups, because like I don't think you have a chance if you're playing something like this. You can also retool this deck list to just like have a bunch more hate bears and be a little bit closer to say like a Yorion Death and Taxes deck. Like you can play some of the more powerful hate bear effects, especially if you end up like freeing up a lot of slots by dropping some of the jank. All right, I hope some of you enjoyed watching this anyway. If you did, click the like button on your way out. If you have any thoughts for our donor about things that they can add to the deck list or ways that they can adjust it, throw it in the comments. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.